Whoa. He is a big guy and I'm all up in his way. So there's many reasons why you shouldn't grow rhododendrons in containers. This is one of the many reasons. If you do decide to grow rhododendrons in containers, remember that if you buy it from a nursery, the pot that you buy it in, I would replant it in a pot that at least is 1/3 bigger in size. That's what we did when we bought this one here. We planted it in a little bit bigger pot and it did absolutely well that first year. Now coming into its second year, it's blooming, but it doesn't have as many blooms as it did when it first started to put out some growth that first year that we got it. I'm really annoying this guy. He's all up. I don't know if you can hear him in my mic, but he's kind of upset that I'm right here. But this rhododendron, I absolutely love it. This is Dandy Man Color Wheel rhododendron from Proven Winners, and I absolutely love this one. It comes out a bright red, turns into this pink, and then at the end it gets this nice creamy white color that absolutely looks spectacular in the garden. I love this rhododendron. It's one that I do want to grow in the garden in the future and add many more of, because I know there's all kinds of colors out there that look absolutely beautiful and stunning. If you don't follow Mike Kincaid on YouTube, I would definitely go check out his channel. He has a number of rhododendrons that absolutely grow beautiful. I know he shows a lot of them on Instagram as well. And I've talked to him about it before, of all types of rhododendrons that are available. And he's given me some pretty good advice on which ones I should actually buy. And I'm excited to try those in the future. Again, we have a limited space here, so I can't add too many plants in the garden here, but I would definitely love to add some of those that he's recommended to us. Okay, so we've already talked about the size of container you should plant it in if you do decide to go in a container. But rhododendrons love very acidic soil. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind when you plant these in a container. You want to have some acidic soil, normally that of what an azalea would love to take. And there's all kinds of soil amendments and fertilizers you can add. One being the soil acidifier from Espoma. We've used that before to keep it very acidic. But when you do plant a rhododendron in a container, you don't want to plant it all the way to the top also, and you don't want to fill your container completely with soil. You want to leave a little bit of room to add some mulch to keep it very happy when it comes to moisture. They dry out very, very fast, especially when the heat is hitting those containers, and depending on the type of container, it can create more heat to dry out that soil. Another thing too is you want to keep plenty of drainage holes because they don't want to sit in water. Regardless of how much water they want to absorb, they don't want to be sitting in water. So keep that in mind if you do decide to put one in a container. Now when it comes to sunlight, rhododendrons don't want to be in direct sunlight. They prefer indirect sunlight, somewhere where the sun's not going to burn it up and destroy these flowers very early in its blooming season, because they do bloom very early. Right now it's the beginning of spring, and this is what it looks like right now. They start to bloom very, very quickly. And one thing you want to do is prevent the sun from burning up those flowers and being able to enjoy that through the whole season. That's something I love about the rhododendrons. It just brings a pop of color very early in the season when nothing is really out there for sale yet when it comes to annuals and things of that nature. So having a variety of rhododendrons, if you have the space for it, is definitely a great thing to have in the garden. All right, so we've talked about the containers, we've talked about the soil, and we've talked about the sunlight. One thing we didn't talk about is the type of rhododendron you should get if you're planting in a container. Now, it's best to go with a dwarf variety. Now, unfortunately, this is not a dwarf variety. And the reason it's not a dwarf variety is because I want something for the future of our home, meaning whenever we move, we may put one in the ground or upsize it a little bit. But if you're gonna definitely want to put rhododendrons in containers around your garden because you have a limited space, you want to go with the dwarf variety, something that's not going to outgrow that container fairly quickly, because they do grow very, very quick. As you can see, everywhere there was supposed to be a flower is going to be leaf instead of the flower. So you can see it's going to start to put on more growth, more leaf. And this guy has, I think it's grown about 1/3 in size since we've gotten it. So they do grow fairly quickly throughout each season. So again, if you want to put one in a container, I would go with a dwarf variety. Don't go with one like this. It's going to grow about 5 to 6 feet in height and width, because then you're going to run into quickly not having as many flower buds. As you can see here, this is still in a container. We should have up potted it, but we didn't want to do that because we are going to move it we're going to take it with us in a move. So up potting it right now wouldn't have done it any good, because then we're limited to space of what we can take with us. But again, if you're going to put a rhododendron in a container, definitely go with the dwarf variety and you should be good. Okay, now I did say in the beginning of this video that it's not always a great idea to plant rhododendrons in containers, but if you do, follow those tips that I gave you and you'll definitely have some success growing a rhododendron in a container. Keep it to a dwarf size, maintain the pot size as well, the soil. You can also add some hollytone in there that's gonna add some acidity to that soil as well, and they'll do just fine with that fertilizer. But again, beautiful, beautiful plant. Just love this rhododendron. It's a great plant to have, especially for the pollinators. Anything that you have that's going to bloom very early in the season is great for pollinators to come around and being able to take and consume some of that pollen that they're going to be able to use very early on in the season. You know, you talk about dandelions growing. Those are some of the first flowers they collect pollen from. We have a forsythia that blooms very, very early. They're attacking that. Cherry blossoms, apple blossoms. We did the espalier apple tree also, and they attack those pretty early. You get some daffodils in the ground, maybe some tulips, but a rhododendron, I can only imagine having a bunch of these in a garden somewhere where the pollinators are going to come very, very early and start taking up all that pollen and using that to their advantage. But great plant to have. Again, I recommend this one if you have the space in your garden. It's Dandy Man color wheel, and this is not the only one they have. They have a couple of other rhododendrons that absolutely look beautiful. Some of their azaleas, those bloom early too. Those do great in the garden. We would love to have some of those in the future as well, but we're keeping it to what we want to grow here because, again, limited space. But once we get a place where we can grow some of these stuff, we'll definitely be adding some azaleas, hopefully, some more rhododendrons, something that's going to look very beautiful and bright in early spring. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something about these rhododendrons, about keeping them in containers, because we've had questions about growing in a container and how it's doing and, you know, how it's coming along. And I will say that up potting or putting it in the ground is going to be the best way to go when it comes to a rhododendron. Right now, limited space, like I said. So hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys in the next video.